Hi there, good evening. Hello and good evening. Welcome to BYJU'S Exam Prep. If you are on the YouTube channel, don't forget to subscribe so that you can participate in our chat and contribute by the way of giving me tons and tons of answers. Answers for every single question that I ask you. And throughout this session, if you need to ask me anything whatsoever, make sure that you drop it down in the chat below, and that should work. राइट अवनीज ट्रेंड गैलरी यार, मतलब मुझे तो डीपीज देख देख करके मजा आता रहता है आधा टाइम. सो एनी क्वेश्चंस फॉर मी, एनीथिंग दैट यू वांट टू आस्क और टॉक अबाउट बिफोर आई स्टार्ट? So we are kicking off our series called Last Lap to Maharashtra CET. So you know that we bring in a lot of sessions for you for every major exam. We, for that matter, bring in quite a few sessions for every minor exam as well, right? So for instance, this time around, quite a few of you are writing CUET. So we are starting with that as well, now that a major chunk of Maharashtra CET sessions have happened. So I'll in fact be taking a session at 4 tomorrow on our YouTube channel for CUET. You can join me there. But today is all about Maharashtra CET. And in this particular class, I am going to focus on the reading comprehension part of Maharashtra CET. Right? So we know that it has a section called VARC. We know that within that section, we get reading comprehension passages. How many passages? Well, the number is not fixed. It can be anywhere between 2 to 6 passages. For that matter, even the length is variable, the difficulty level is variable, the total number of questions that you get, they're all variable, and they may not even match from one slot to another. And therefore, you basically need to stay on your toes. You basically need to treat every Maharashtra CET paper, or the one that you write, as a fresh paper that you're going to encounter. Now, over the years, the challenges that people bring to me in reading comprehension are numerous, but when it comes to Maharashtra CET, the particular set of problems that people face are, they are not able to remember the passage or the paragraph. Or in other words, if you've been working with me, they say they are not able to generate an overview of the passage. So now the trouble here is that generating an overview of a passage is a skill. You need to go ahead and consciously practice it, preferably every day, in order to become better at it. But quite a few of us who start a preparation for Maharashtra CET may not start that well in advance, and thus this skill does remain a little underdeveloped. As a result, it also goes ahead and affects our how would we put it? It affects our ability to figure out the right answer faster. We are not able to go to the right area or the right part quickly. So that is one of those things. But then all that you need to do for this particular issue is go back to the drawing board. Whenever you attempt a passage, just get that overview out. So basically, as long as you remember the key idea of every paragraph, you'd be good to go. That should be golden. Then the second issue is they find the language of the passage difficult to understand. That is, that lack of familiarity with the subject matter, or the fact that your passage involves difficult words can be an issue. So now that we are barely a week away from the exam, I think when it comes to the subject matter, let's just ignore it. If the passage talks about an area that is completely alien to you, and you realize after scanning through the passage that you're not able to understand it, you always have a choice to deprioritize it. Okay, you can leave it for the end, and then if time permits, you can perhaps try it out. But do attempt the questions. There is no negative marking. So I'm not asking you to leave it, but then you just mark the answers. You would not really be then in that case reading it. And as far as difficult words go, see, my take is, even when your passage has challenging words, it usually does not bother us much when it comes to the exams. Most of the questions generally can still be answered even if you're not able to understand a few words here and there, so choose to ignore it. And finally, there are times when we're not able to focus on the passage, but that is where developing test taking stamina comes into picture. Write mocks, write more mocks. Get into this habit of blocking some time off every day where you sit and study free of distractions. So by now you already know how to really give. Ye mysterious says tukka op. Yeah, absolutely. Where there is no negative marking, I think we all would do that. With that said, let's dive into some passages, fine tune the approach, and then we can go ahead and talk about it. So this is one of the things, these are some of the tips that can help you in creating a mental overview of the passage. So it is not about the detail, it is about picking up just the key idea of every paragraph. You don't need to obviously keep it in your mind verbatim, you can always simplify it and follow that flow in which the various ideas are given. So let's go ahead, try it out on some passages, and then hopefully we'll be able to get some more pointers. So let's see. So here is passage 1. I will take you through this slide by slide, and after a while, of course, you will have your questions in place. In this particular case, I've already highlighted some words. Those words should make it easy for you to retain. But that said, you know, Maharashtra CET gives us this inconsistent difficulty level. There are passages which are easy, but then in between there are passages that can be quite challenging. I'm following that theme. I've not picked up passages that can be termed outright easy. So let's go ahead. Once you're done reading it, let me know so that I can bring you back. So I can take you to the next slide, sorry. Vivek, passage first. We should prefer reading the passage first, only then go to the questions. Otherwise, if the questions are indirect, which can be the case, you may end up wasting a lot of time. So reading the passage first works for all question types. Reading the questions first works only for small passages that have up to 3 questions, and that too when the questions are direct. Okay, so it's very limited utility. Avni says, why so they do what? भाई एक तो मुझे ना ये इमोजीज समझ में नहीं आते, मैं इमोजी चैलेंज दूं और ऊपर से ये कोई नया सा इमोजी और है, मैंने देखा भी नहीं हुआ यार ये. Good evening Sneha and everyone else. Hi Shubhangi. Fantastic. Here is the next slide. देख रहे हो तुम कैसे VRC में भी मैथ की जरूरत पड़ जाती है कई बार. Fractal nature of the coastline. So if you don't know what fractal is, dude, this is a line. These two sentences, you would not even be able to understand it. But then right now I'm here with you, so let's talk about it. What is fractal? A fractal is a never-ending pattern that repeats itself at different scales. Okay, for example, you've seen a tree. A tree branches out. right? And then a tree branches out, but then subsequently every branch also has branches, right? These branches subsequently can also have branches. So this is the same pattern, branching pattern that keeps on repeating itself. So that's the non-math interpretation. And when you say this, that's before you factor in the fractal nature of the coastline. When you get there, there is no there. Let me show you something like a fractal coastline. Here it is on your screen. So you see a coast, but then when you go there, do you tend to reach the edge? No matter where you go, it's basically just the same, because every tiny part has that same pattern. The closer you go, that same pattern keeps on repeating itself. So there is no coastline. That's what fractal nature does. So with that, let's come back to the passage. Please go through this. Some of you have read it. Can you give it a reread quickly? Got to make myself a little smaller as well, I guess, because I'm eating into some part of the text. There we go. Yes, Vivek, absolutely. Loop need not be fractal. Not all the loops are fractal, but yeah. Okay, here is the next slide for you. No, yes, this is not fractal because different paragraphs do explore different themes. Of course, every paragraph deals with the same topic, but then different paragraphs are focusing on different aspects. Wow, Aditya, very nice. Good, Harshit, good. Okay, taking you to the next slide in 5 seconds. Okay, so that's the end of the passage, and here is your first question on the screen. What is the main point of the passage? So what's your take on the first question? How would you choose to answer? Okay, so I see D, I see E. Okay, anthologies of quotations are better than long books. Okay, now come to think of it, if I give this option as an essay topic to you, say here is a topic for you, why don't you write an essay on this? What all would you write? You will first off probably, define what an anthology is. Then you talk about the fact that one specific type of anthology is uh, anthologies of quotations, and then you will compare it with the other books and cite multiple reasons proving why an anthology is better. Have you seen any such thing happening in the passage? Yes, there is a sentence where the author says that I prefer these nowadays. But then why? What makes them better is not answered anywhere. This is what I call that 180-degree approach, where if an answer choice appeals to you, you treat it as, for a main idea question, mind you, then you treat it as an essay topic and then see whether you are able to arrive at an answer or not. So this very clearly tells you that D is incorrect. Another option, another set of answers that I've received up. Where are the answers, guys? Am I not getting the chat from you, or what's happening? Let me just restart the chat. Okay, I'm getting, now I see. So D, E, C. So D ruled out. E, one can get knowledge from other sources nowadays. Which other sources? Where are these other sources of knowledge mentioned in the passage? Where is that? Not in these three. It does talk about this here. World's back catalog being available on one's phone. This is, it is quite impossible, but look at the context. This is, even with all these things, sorry, that with all these things available, it is becoming difficult for us to learn everything that is being published. That is the context. It says that it has made things difficult, but E says E is suddenly positive. So E can also be eliminated. All of you already managed to rule out A and B. So C is the answer. Multiple paragraphs. I can take you through at least 3-4 paragraphs where the author has hinted that, hey, in fact, let me take you to the last one. This may well prove a more valuable skill set than the one being tested. We are, after all, a mimeric species. So look at this. He's starting with this. Very first paragraph. This part. Then this analogy here. So multiple places. This here. The last 2 lines of that paragraph. So C is very easily the dominant theme that you should arrive at. Here is the next one. So C it is. Here is your second question. Use the process of elimination. Okay, reminder. Okay, C, Karan, C. The answer for previous question was option C. And for question number 2. The right answer is option B. A can be eliminated. E can be eliminated. I guess these were probably the easiest ones to eliminate. Now the problem with D is people who write or read. Where is this coming from? See, even if it's an inference question, right? Even if you treat it literally, even if you do not go for that hidden meaning, how will this reading part enter? And this, once again, in the context of the passage, that's an anyway an irrelevant factor. So the point that the author is making is there was a time when somebody used to say, I'm writing a book, and say, neither am I. Like saying nobody writes a book, people just talk about it. And nowadays it's the same thing happening with reading too. People say I'm reading a book, they are actually not reading a book. It's just become fashionable to say this, even when you are not reading. And that is why B becomes your best answer here. Here is the third one. Those of you who chose C, just go back to the first paragraph and then tell me what would you call it, true, false, can't say. There is absolutely nothing. All we know is a drinks party, but there is nothing that suggests that these men were drinking. They may not, who knows. So for question number 3, here is your answer. Should I take you back to the relevant part? Let me give that. Let me take you to the part that can help us. See this? Talking about specific books one has not read used to be frowned upon. People did not like it in the past. So second paragraph very clearly says this, and that is the part that helps us arrive at C. So it was not book reading that was frowned upon, it was lying about the fact that you've read a book when you haven't that was frowned upon. Okay, so that's why E can be ruled out. And here is your next question. Incredible you, your volume, I think I have maxed it out from my end. I can change the input source, but then it will also start capturing a lot of ambient sound. That can be an issue. You solve the question, I'll see if I can increase it somehow. Okay, so I've tried it a bit. I've changed its position. Hopefully that makes it easier for it to grasp. But the correct answer for question number 4 happens to be option B, which I think most of you have managed to get this right. So the author is fond of famous quotes? No, it's not. He's not saying it in that context because of his fondness. Remember the paragraph where he talked about it? I'll just read it out for you. And sorry, Orwell, but my guilt is too great to avoid the passive voice, whatever. So say a certain fuzziness now surrounds the question of our relationship with a given book. Some we have read, others are more browsed with benefits. So there is no deep relationship, or it is complicated. So once again, you're not committed. So wink, evasion, fudge. Look at what is using. Browsed with benefits is like friends with benefits. So very superficial, very hush hush. You don't talk about it and you barely give it much time. So I honestly endorse quotation anthologies. Like instead of reading an entire book, you just read the quotes. You're anyway not going to devote yourself entirely to it, and that is what makes B the best answer choice. Here is the next one. So you know in Maharashtra CET you do get a lot of vocabulary based questions. Let me see if you can take on this one. Okay, so the answer to this particular question is option C. Anything that is ominous, ominous clouds are clouds that tell you that it is going to rain very heavily. Ominous signs are signs of danger, and that is why it is threatening. D is auspices. If you are under the auspices of someone or something, it means that you are under the protection of that someone or that something, or that you are being supported by them. So auspices is actually more of an antonym. It's more of a comforting thing. Okay, so that's your question number 5, and with that, let us dive into our next passage now. Passage number 2, the first part is available on your screen. Okay, so taking you over to the next slide. Here is the next slide. Okay, here is the next bit. And with that, let us dive into our questions now. So here is the first question based on the passage. And the moment I see 5 answers, we can start the discussion. So I have 2 answers, 3 answers, 4 and 5 absolutely right here. The correct answer to this question is indeed option D. Digital fraud, reducing financial security, they have not been mentioned in the passage, so we label them as cannot be determined. But B and C both are true, and that is why we can without any hesitation choose D as our answer, which I think all of you have gone on to do as well. So here is the next one. Question number 7. Go back to the right part, read it in the context. When I read it, I had to do a double take because we normally do not use this word, we use something else. But in the context, it was better. Okay, so the correct answer is the correct answer is option C. No administrative source on power use. In that context, the author says, yeah, I'm guessing. We do not have what you would call official statistics. आधिकारिक आंकड़े नहीं हैं हमारे पास. So administrative here was basically government source or official source. And that is why C, that talks about no reliable data, is the right answer for us. So C got a late wind. A lot of you started picking up later, but A should have been ruled out because in the context too, we are talking about just Zimbabwe. So I thought A at least was easy. D was also easy to rule out. At least we had to stick to Zimbabwe. So B versus C, I can understand. A or D, if you pick that up, that's a little bit of a trouble. Okay, here is the next one. So this is more of an inference question, and the right answer to this question is option E. That is the only thing that can be termed true. So when you look at A, the problem is we are talking about the need for an alternative energy source is imperative. Where in the passage would you find a sentence that backs it? Where does the passage say that we need to create alternative energy source so that we can continue bankrolling the energy expenditure on bitcoins? The author actually is hinting at the fact that we need to control or tame that energy expenditure on bitcoins. So A is not true. It is can't say. Then B. Then the other option that some of us have picked up is C. The problem with C is this word. Everything else is true in C, but then where would we get this judgment that limiting it to just 21 million is unfair? Whereas Zimbabwe does not have reliable power supply, is definitely found in the passage. Karan, it's a fact-based question. I can take you back and we can check. Here you go. So if only power supply was reliable tells you that the power supply there is not reliable. So that is why the answer is E. Fair enough. And here is the next one. But this time around you are being asked for which of the following is not true. Okay, so the correct answer is option A. Average electricity cost in parts of Africa is almost 2 times the average cost in the rest of the world. Cannot be determined. We are comparing Zimbabwe with some other countries in South Africa, or maybe with South Africa. There is no comparison given with the rest of the world. Okay, then D, let's check D. Let me take you back to the right part for D. Where is D? Here. Manufacturers of cryptocurrency are introducing to the market more efficient mining technologies that minimize electricity use. Notice are introducing. So is being introduced is absolutely okay. It's just the passive voice of that. So D is true. We are looking for something that is not true. Okay, here is the next one. So another sort of a main idea question, but I think you'll find it easy. Absolutely right, guys. The correct answer is indeed C. And here is your next passage for the day. क्या पढ़ा रहे हैं? अंकिता वो अपना लास्ट लैब टू महाराष्ट्र सीईटी एक सीरीज है जिसे आज किक स्टार्ट किया है। तो इसमें रीडिंग कॉम्प्रिहेंशन का सेशन है आज। कल क्रिटिकल रीजनिंग, कल कल बेसिकली जो वर्बल रीजनिंग वाली साइड है उसे डिस्कवर, उसको उस पर काम करेंगे 7 बजे। और ऐसे हर रोज अलग अलग सेशंस होते रहेंगे। आई विल शेयर द एजेंडा विद यू टुवर्ड्स द एंड ऑफ द सेशन। So let's just dive into this passage straight away. Okay, so taking you over to the next slide now. अरे करण कोई बात नहीं यार, यूट्यूब पे, अगर यूट्यूब पे तो यू कैन ऑलवेज पॉज, गो बैक, रीड एंड देन ज्वाइन मी अगेन, नो? Okay, so here comes the next slide. What is meant by perception? See, there is this something called a reality, and the other is how you interpret that reality. So, the reality could be that there is a rope on lying on the road. You may look at that rope and think that it is a snake. The reality is that you may see momos being sold there and you're like, oh, yum. Ah, it's so fabulous. Whereas somebody may look at those same set of momos and say, damn, that's poison, that's junk, whatever, different people. So perception is how you interpret that reality, and we all have those filters happening. So here is the first question based on the passage. Thank you, Tejas, but in this case, I think it was the passage, right? Okay, so here is the right answer. So dreams seem all but a figment of your imagination. If something is a figment of your imagination, it means that it is not real. So when your dreams appear that they are just a figment of your imagination, you stop believing in those dreams and you believe that they are never going to be realized. And that is why B is the best interpretation. The problem with D is it says a state where dream and reality seem one singular entity. No. Figment of your imagination is that you just think of that dream as in imagination. It's like, what if let's just think of somebody really beautiful and attractive. Let's say, who should I talk about? Deepika Padukone? Or anybody, who do I care? So if I feel that, oh, I think I should date Deepika, and I feel, yeah, that's just imagination. It's just my imagination. It means that I believe it is never going to be a reality. So that is why if they become one singular entity, then your dreams are real. But here, they're not real, they're just imagination. That's why D can be ruled out. Okay. And which other option have you picked up? B and D. Mostly C. A person begins to dream without working on it to turn into a reality. That is not a correct interpretation of figment of imagination. The context does not tell you that it is due to lack of work. The context in fact tells us that the person worked yet failed, and that is when you get disheartened. Okay, next question. How does a person play a significant role in motivating or demotivating oneself? Okay, interesting. Tell me. Okay, so the right answer for this particular question is A. So it is not about listening to others and ignoring your inner voice. It is about when your inner voice lacks belief. Go back to the second paragraph, you'd find it there. It's when you lose that trust in yourself that it happens. So it's not about listening to others and ignoring your own inner voice. It's when your inner voice starts telling you that you're not worth it. And that is why B can be ruled out and A should be chosen as our answer. Here is question number 13, or as we call it in Housey, Tambola, lucky number 13. Let's get this one right. Go ahead. It is actually a direct question. You just need to refer to the right part. Okay, so the correct answer is, whoa, Saurav, lucky you, man. So the correct answer here is D. Let me see which part actually talked about disappointed. Where did it go? I've been focusing a bit too hard on the screen since morning. Help me guys. Can you just tell me the paragraph and the line that talks about disappointed? Hey, there are times when it gets stuck. I solved it a while ago. I think it was somewhere in the first paragraph. I'm somehow not able to see it right now. So this is not mentioned anywhere. Keeping peace of mind, no, it's about keeping self-belief. So if you refer, you'd find it somewhere. Okay, here is the next one. What does the phenomenon of self-doubt indicate? This is a very easy question. Oh, Poonam, I did not see anybody choosing B in that question. One should trust one's potential to achieve any goal. Look at the question and see if it even can be used as an answer to that question. So others are pitching in, okay? They're telling you the location that you can go to. Whereas this question is more or less a very straightforward question. The very first paragraph, I think the last 7-8 lines, in fact you can leave out the last 2-3 lines and refer to some 5-6 lines above it, and from there you will be able to get D as your answer. So let's see. Pratham, जो आप क्वेश्चन दे रहे हो important है क्या? हाँ Pratham, we have only given you the kind of questions that have been asked in Maharashtra CET in the past, so you definitely find this useful. Sort of exam level of CET is very unpredictable, mostly easy to moderate, but then there have been slots when certain question types turned out to be very difficult. Okay, here is the next one. So question number 15, guys. I am sure this is a quote that you have heard multiple times in your life from multiple places. Imply, what is the true meaning of it? Why are we choosing A? There are people who cannot climb a tree but can definitely swim. Here is the answer. You are special in your own way, is what that it basically means. It tells us that everybody has his or her own unique strengths, and they should not be measured using a measure that does not even apply to them. ऐसे नहीं करते यार. Now the problem with D is it says there are certain capabilities which are possessed by everyone. No, the basic idea is everyone has his own different strengths, unique strengths. So this This is not something which will be the correct interpretation. It's actually a distortion of what the quote really means or what the quote really stands for. With that, here is a vocabulary based question for you. Which of the following is the most similar in meaning to the given word? Redeem. Let me help you out. I think second para, around maybe third, fourth line is where, around this place is where you'd find this word used. Look at that context and then answer. Overlord, just keep practicing the skills. Focus on your test taking strategy at this juncture. Write mocks and see what works, what does not work. You have time to pick up maybe one, maybe at the max 2 new areas if you haven't covered those things. This was basically just refined test taking technique. Question selection is going to be important. Karan, this is relatively easier. Okay, 11th March, 9 to 11:30. That should be the first slot of 11th March. Every day they have multiple slots. Okay, so the correct answer for this is rescue. Redeem basically means, in the context that it has been used, it basically means to improve yourself. To take actions to improve yourself so that you go on to perform better, to take actions to improve your perception among other people. Okay, so those kind of things. So B is going to be the right answer here. And the next one hopefully is even easier, but I don't know. Vocabulary is tricky. If you know the meanings of all the words, it's great. Otherwise, it becomes an issue. So what's your take on 17th? 9 at 1:30. Okay, should be the second slot on the first day. Wow. Don't forget to join us for the analysis, and once you're done with the paper, do drop in a message about your slot, okay? You can put that in the Telegram group. We would also like to hear from you. Okay, so let's put it in a sentence. If I say that there are numerous instances of Rocky reading a book. So when you say numerous instances, can I say a lot of? We've seen him read a book quite often. So the word that means quite often all among the 5 is umpteen, and that is why umpteen should be the answer. Gigantic basically means huge. Huge in size, huge in stature. That's gigantic. Occasional is, okay, it happens, but it's not as frequent as numerous would suggest. Umpteen, on the other hand, means a lot of. Infrequent will again be sort of antonym. So B and D are more of antonyms than being most similar. And since you are in the mood for picking up antonyms, okay, let me ask you one. Give me the answer to this. Most opposite in meaning to unattainable. Most opposite. Now give me the antonym. Okay, so the correct answer here is option B, which I think almost everybody has managed to get right, and that was the last question that I had brought for you. So keep reading, keep solving, and please keep in mind that question selection will be very important, and therefore do not lose sight of that big picture. Right? It's not necessary for you to attempt a passage the moment you see it. Here is the schedule for the upcoming sessions. I'll just vanish myself briefly. So tomorrow you'll be working once again with me on critical reasoning and verbal logic. But then a day after, we'll be focusing on the non-verbal aspects of reasoning. 4th March, Saral Sir, Geometry and Modern Maths. 5th March, once again Saral Sir, taking you through some more aspects of logical reasoning. So that's the schedule for the next 4 days. What is rhymed manner? I don't know. RIMED? No idea. Where was it even written? So, 9th, 10th, 11th March, first impressions, detailed analysis. If you have sat in that slot, join us. If you have a slot later in the day, do tune in if you can before, so that you get to know later in the day, or for that matter even afterwards, so that you know what all has been asked and if there are any surprises. Right, so that's it from me today. I would love to meet you once again on 9th, 10th and 11th, but before that, I'll see you tomorrow at 7 and a day after at 12 with some more Maharashtra CET practice. Until then, keep working hard. Timed manner, okay, timed manner is where you practice by keeping an eye on the clock. Where you give yourself some time, you say that, okay, I am going to solve it within 6 minutes. Okay, chaliye, so I'll see you once again tomorrow. Until then, have a great evening and keep working hard. Take care, enjoy your time, and don't forget to like the video. That's really important.